The likelihood of a fight with you and Terence Crawford would be one of the biggest in boxing.
We don't talking about yet about the fight. Me and Turki Alalshikh know each other.
Turki Alalshikh has been pushing hard to bring Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez into the same ring with an incredible $95 million offer, and for a moment it seemed like boxing was about to get its next massive super fight, but in a move that shocked many fans, Crawford has now decided to turn down the deal.
Isn't Canelo next year? Are you done from the sport, Terence?
I wouldn't say that. Right now I'm just weighing out my options and looking for the best opportunities and options for Terence Crawford in my career.
Absolutely.
Action was not what many people expected from a fighter said to be chasing legacy and greatness, leaving the boxing world split on whether this was a smart decision or a missed opportunity.
Canelo Alvarez versus Terence "Bud" Crawford. What is your honest thoughts on that as an opportunity and a potential fight?
Oh, it's always is a chance there, right? We'll see, but always is a chance there, and we're here to make the best deals, and always
has still not lost hope and remains determined to make the fight happen, saying he is ready to work directly with Canelo and offer what he believes is a fair price, but the question remains what really counts as fair when one fighter risks everything while the other could gain a huge payday and strong legacy attention. Canelo has made it clear before that he carefully chooses his fights, especially ones that could affect his image or bring criticism about with. Crawford may offer money which Canelo already has but little extra in terms of legacy. Many see it as an uneven matchup, and even if Canelo wins, fans would still question why he was not facing David Benavidez or another true challenger at 168 pounds.
For me, I don't need to take that fight because then everybody's gonna say it's too small, and then, you know, he need to enjoy.
Crawford focus on Canelo makes sense because a fight with him would deliver the kind of attention, legacy and payday that only a few athletes ever experience, giving Crawford a real chance to secure his place in boxing history while earning money at a level rarely reached in the sport. But this strong focus on one opponent has created an unusual situation, as Turki said he could arrange any fight Crawford wanted, yet Crawford shows no interest in anyone else. Fighters like Jerin Barney, Sebastian Fandora or even David Morrell are viewed as backward moves for someone at Crawford level.
Saying like, hey, you know, forget about Canelo. That was a tough fight with Madrimov. Go ahead and give Boots a shot. Give Boots the chance. But Eddie saying, hey, you know, I think Crawford saying, hey, give me the Canelo fight or I'm not fighting. I'm done.
Why? What he's got to prove to Boot? Boot trying to take over and start beating the guys around him. Prove that he's the best of that group. Bud is in a group above him. Bud don't need to come back down to 47 to meet him. That's crazy. Why would he? Bud look to try to make.
Still, avoiding these fights may not be the smartest decision because facing someone like Benavidez, for example, could raise his name even higher while also giving him some protection, since if he loses he could point to Ben's size, youth and raw power as major factors. The same idea applies to Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol. Stepping in with opponents this dangerous would draw huge attention even if Crawford did not win, because it would prove he is willing to challenge the very best in the sport. Realistically, many people thought the idea would end once he said he was not interested, yet Crawford continues to focus only on Canelo and shows little desire to take risks that do not include the reward of defeating him. This single-minded approach has led fans to question his motives, whether he is truly chasing greatness or avoiding risks that could damage his perfect record against fighters who may not offer the same fame and fortune. And as time passes, the criticism keeps growing, with fighters like Benavidez and Morrell pushing for major fights, while Crawford's choice to ignore these opportunities has not sat well with many fans.
He's weight class. 75 is his weight class, and you know he do nothing in 175. Really, no, he's not the same.
Canelo, meanwhile, has his own challenges to think about, as a possible fight with David Ben Alvarez is the matchup fans truly want to see, and one that could earn him strong respect. Yet even that fight comes with complications, since reports suggest Canelo is asking for an enormous $200 million for the bout, a number that makes the $100 million offer for Crawford seem small in comparison. If Canelo is waiting for such a massive payday, it becomes difficult to imagine him agreeing to fight Crawford for less, especially when the risks involved are much lower.
Johnny Boy Boxing Flight High. I just want to ask you, what do you think about Terence Crawford? What do we think about Terence Crawford's performance, and do you want to get a fight with him?
If the money is right, I mean,
$100 million. I heard Turkey offered you a big money.
The situation itself is complicated to say the least, as Turkey attempt to arrange the deal has added another level of difficulty, and while his passion is clear, it also seems he may not fully understand what it takes to convince Canelo to agree. The idea of offering a fair price may sound sensible, but Canelo history shows he rarely accepts anything below what he believes his true value is, and at this point in his career there is little reason for him to compromise, since his legacy is already secure and his financial future is stable.
Doing that.
Where do things stand with Turkey? Turkey said he would like to open a line of communication with no middleman, just you and him. And
I never say no to business. So if it is a business for me, I'm open to talk. no matter what.
Crawford, the situation is very different because he stands at a point where one bad loss could damage his legacy while a huge victory could lift him into the group of all-time greats, which is why his refusal to consider opponents other than Canelo feels confusing. A fight with Benavidez or Bivol would not only be exciting but could even surpass a Canelo matchup in impact. Losing to a naturally bigger opponent would come with understandable reasons and still attract major media attention, while fans would respect the bravery required to face a stronger fighter even if the outcome did not go in his favor.
Effortlessly. He's a tough guy to deal with, and 12 rounds is a long time. But Crawford has a very deep bag of tricks. He's got great, very high boxing IQ. We always watch him early on. He's collecting data on his opponent. Madrimov was a tough nut to crack. It took him a lot of rounds to figure it out, but 9, 10, 11, 12, he started really pushing that pace, was able to get his hands off.
Instead of looking at these options, he has remained focused only on Canelo, and his decision to reject Turkey $100 million offer has created mixed reactions because on one side it shows Crawford does not want to appear desperate for the fight, while on the other it makes people wonder if he is truly willing to face the toughest challenges available for Turkey. The path forward remains unclear as he continues to push hard to make the fight happen, yet his confidence alone may not be enough. The reality is that Canelo holds the power in this situation, and if Turkey wants the fight to become real, he will need to present something truly extraordinary that goes beyond a large paycheck. Meanwhile, Crawford choices are becoming more limited as time passes and the boxing world continues to move forward.
I want the opportunity, to fight the best fighter in my generation that's out there. He's the most accomplished fighter, and I would just like to, fight.
Like Benavidez, Morel and even Beterbiev are making headlines, and each missed opportunity slowly chips away at Crawford relevance. He may not see these fights as attractive now, but in the long run they could be the stepping stones he needs to build the legacy he wants. Even with all this, Crawford still chose a fight that Canelo did not fully acknowledge him as a top opponent. Despite Crawford winning by unanimous decision, Canelo openly suggested that the result could have been different. Highlighting his own view on the fight hype, the Mexican star made his stance clear, saying he understands why weight classes exist. He admitted it was a good fight, but in his opinion he either lost or drew it, and the outcome could have gone the other way.
The crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. So let's not do that, Canelo.
They say all this talk about me moving up in weight and having a tough time, but he moved up and lost while I moved up, and when you see the difference, so let's not get it twisted, Canelo. Those words carry meaning, Canelo.
No, that's 2 more weight classes. Once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to...
Canelo isn't just a bystander in Crawford's career, he's the opponent many expect to face him. If Crawford moves up fully to super welterweight, for Canelo to call Crawford debut at that weight anything less than stellar would take away from the momentum Crawford hoped to gain from the potential matchup. From Crawford's perspective, his first fight in a higher weight class was meant to make a statement. Israel Move may have had only 11 professional fights, but his amateur background and unusual style made him a real challenge. Crawford showed moments of his usual brilliance, yet Move did enough to keep the fight competitive.
Alalshikh playing games. You got somebody ask Turki Alalshikh, is this happening? Look at his response about Crawford facing Canelo. Look at his response. Make the fight, Turkey, make the fight.
Eddie Hearn openly expressed his frustration with the outcome, saying Move was unfairly judged and that Crawford didn't do enough to claim the belt. Hearn comments reflected what many in the boxing world were thinking and already cast a shadow over the win, but when combined with Canelo's harsh take, it raises an even bigger question: why would Canelo consider fighting Crawford? Canelo's situation is unique. He's not just any champion, he's a unified super middleweight kingpin whose every move is closely watched. Taking on Crawford after a lukewarm debut at a higher weight would invite criticism. Fans could accuse him of picking on a smaller, weaker opponent, especially if Crawford struggles in the ring. For Canelo, the reward doesn't seem worth it. Even with a clear win, the narrative could easily turn against him. Instead of adding another feather to his cap, he could be criticized for choosing a smaller fighter whose move up in weight exposed vulnerabilities. Crawford's unanimous decision over Move may have added another belt, making him a 4-division world champion, but it also raised questions about his ability to handle bigger, stronger opponents. Those doubts make a fight with Canelo less appealing for Alvarez, who prefers cementing his legacy against worthy challengers. Now a matchup with Crawford feels less like a career-defining moment and more like a risky step.
From your expert opinion, knowing how Canelo fights, what he's like in the ring, I know you haven't been in the ring with Terence, but what do you think of that fight?
I truly believe, that, anything can happen in boxing, you know what I'm saying? And Terence Crawford is a legend. He's great. He's a great fighter. The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, you know, is his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do way better.
Fight against Edgar Bunga highlighted the clear difference in stakes for him. Bunga, though not yet widely known, is a natural super middleweight with knockout power and youth on his side. Defeating Bunga reinforced Canelo's dominance in the division and kept his legacy secure. A fight with Crawford, however, doesn't carry the same level of validation. Crawford's situation becomes even trickier when seen this way. Move was meant to be a stepping stone, a chance to show he could compete at higher weights and back up the hype for a potential Canelo matchup, but his performance gave critics reasons to doubt and made Canelo's skepticism even stronger.
For me, easy money. So if the money is right, I'm in, because, you know, I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because he move a lot and the fight is not that great. I saw Crawford the last fight and he don't move that much now. So if the money is right, I'm in right now.
In boxing terms, Crawford victory may look like another win on paper, but the reactions from Hearn and Canelo tell a different story. They point to a performance that was enough to earn a belt, but not strong enough to erase doubts about Crawford's ability at higher weight classes. Canelo, with his usual pragmatism, seems to be playing the long game by questioning Crawford's performance. He isn't just criticizing his, shaping the narrative, making it clear that if a fight between them happens, Canelo wants it on terms that work for him financially, competitively, and for his reputation. Until then, Crawford's path forward may require more than just collecting belts. He needs performances that leave no doubt something his bout with Move failed to provide.
All the antics that Canelo is doing and saying in the media and whatnot about the size, and he won't get no credit and all this type of things, but Canelo been fighting smaller guys his whole career.
As things stand, the gap between Crawford and Canelo feels wider than ever. Canelo, secure in his status as a pound-for-pound great, doesn't need Crawford to cement his place in history, but for Crawford it's the opposite. To truly elevate his legacy, he has to prove not just to fans but to Canelo that is a worthy opponent, and after Move that's a tougher sell than anyone expected. Yet it seems likely to remain just talk rather than reality, because the obstacles go far beyond agreeing on a multi-million-dollar purse. Canelo, already the biggest draw in boxing, has unmatched financial power, and his reported $200 million demand to face David Benavidez is widely seen as a strategic barrier rather than a true expectation, a way to avoid the fight without outright saying no. For a fighter of Canelo's size, every move is calculated. Taking on Crawford, who is smaller and less proven at super middleweight, carries risks beyond the physical. Promoter Eddie Hearn explained why this potential matchup faces so many challenges, telling Fight Hype that despite Turki Alalshikh's enthusiasm for making it happen, it seems unlikely to materialize. He admitted he'd be very surprised if the fight ever takes place, and that it doesn't seem like something Canelo truly wants.
Wonderful, you know, I can't. Hey, A++.
Is he one of the best offensive fighters in the game?
One of them, definitely.
What makes him that fight?
You know what I mean? He's just relentless. You know what I mean? His pressure, but it's smart pressure, you know.
Hearn revealed that he had spoken directly with Canelo about the fight and got a clear answer. Canelo's hesitation comes from how the narrative would play out if he beat Crawford. Hearn explained that Canelo feels people would say he only beat a smaller 150-pound fighter. The problem is that fighting Crawford is essentially a lose-lose situation for Canelo. If he wins, critics could dismiss it as an expected result against a smaller opponent, but if he loses, the backlash would be much worse. Questioning how a generational talent like Canelo could be outclassed by someone moving up in weight, this gap is not just theoretical, it's central to the discussion. Crawford, despite his skill and power, has yet to prove himself at 168 pounds. Move, a natural super welterweight with a Turkish style but limited pro experience, exposed weaknesses in Crawford's game. Demetrius Andre, a recognized voice in boxing, gave a blunt assessment of Crawford's chances at 168 pounds, telling Fight Hub TV that Canelo is a fierce competitor who can move all night, while Crawford has the skills but may struggle with absorbing punches and stopping power. Andre added that Canelo's agility and ring IQ would likely neutralize Crawford's technical advantages. While acknowledging Crawford's undeniable talent, he said he doesn't think Crawford can beat Canelo but could give him a competitive fight. Andre noted that the sense Crawford might be out of his depth is widely shared in boxing circles, even as Crawford considers moving up 2 weight classes. Fighters like Canelo, who have been at super middleweight for years, are used to the size, strength and endurance required, while Crawford, who built his reputation at 135, 140 and 147 pounds, would face a monumental adjustment. Canelo's hesitation to face Crawford also ties into his current path. The Mexican star has often said he wants to fight the best opponents while maintaining his status as boxing's top draw for him. A matchup with a smaller or lower-risk fighter carries far less potential damage to his reputation. Meanwhile, Crawford options are shrinking. A fight with Canelo represents the peak of what he could achieve both financially and historically, but the path to that bout is blocked by factors beyond his control. Even Turki Alalshikh's substantial financial support may not convince Canelo if he feels the fight doesn't align with his legacy goals. The size disadvantage is perhaps the biggest hurdle. It's not just about the scale, but how that weight difference plays out in the ring. At 168 pounds, Canelo punches carry a level of power and force Crawford has never faced. The idea that he could overcome this purely with skill is tempting, but unrealistic to many experts. Canelo's careful career strategy ensures every fight enhances his reputation. A win over Crawford, while lucrative, doesn't carry the same validation as beating natural super middleweights or light heavyweights. For Canelo, the narrative matters as much as the result. Crawford chances rely on his clear skill, ring IQ, and ability to adjust mid-fight. His fluid switching between orthodox and southpaw stances has troubled opponents at every weight. His timing, precision, and ability to exploit weaknesses could challenge even someone of Canelo caliber. His footwork and defensive instincts may help him avoid Canelo's powerful combinations and find counter opportunities, yet the main challenge remains moving up to 168 pounds. Crawford has dominated at 147, but super middleweight brings far greater physicality. Fighters in this division are generally stronger and hit harder.